ChatGPT. Relate ACIM to the movie Full of Grace. Full of Grace through the lens of A Course in Miracles, ACIM. Full of Grace can be viewed through ACIM as a meditation on trust, guidance, remembrance, and the gentle transition from dependence on external forms to reliance upon the living presence of God. The film takes place after the crucifixion and resurrection, focusing on Mary as she helps the disciples navigate uncertainty, fear, confusion, and the apparent absence of Jesus. From an ACIM perspective, this setting symbolizes a stage that every spiritual student eventually encounters. What happens when the external teacher is no longer available and we must learn to trust the inner teacher? From form to presence. Throughout the film, many of the disciples struggle with the fact that Jesus is no longer physically present. They long for the familiar form, the familiar voice, the familiar guidance. This reflects a common stage in spiritual development. The ego becomes attached to forms, teachers, methods, relationships, practices. Yet ACIM consistently points beyond forms toward content, beyond personalities toward presence, beyond bodies toward spirit. The disappearance of the external form becomes an invitation to discover that what Jesus represented was never confined to a body. Mary as a symbol of trust. Mary serves as a stabilizing presence throughout the story. While others react with uncertainty, she repeatedly embodies quiet trust. This mirrors one of the essential characteristics cultivated through mind training in ACIM. The Holy Spirit's guidance rarely appears dramatic. More often, it appears as quiet certainty, a willingness to trust without needing constant external proof. Mary becomes a symbol of the receptive mind that has learned to listen within. The fear of separation. Many characters in the film are wrestling with a sense of loss. The belief is, Jesus is gone. Something essential has been lost. We are now alone. ACIM identifies this as the core error of the ego, the belief in separation. The ego continually tells the mind, you have been abandoned. You are on your own. Love has left. The Holy Spirit answers, nothing real can be threatened. The film beautifully illustrates the gradual recognition that presence remains even when form changes. Remembering instead of learning. One of the major themes in the film is remembering what Jesus taught. The disciples are not being asked to acquire new information. They are being asked to remember. This is very much aligned with ACIM. The Course teaches that awakening is not learning something new. It is remembering what has been forgotten. Truth is already present. The obstacle is not ignorance. The obstacle is forgetting. Mary repeatedly encourages remembrance rather than dependence. Grace. The title itself points toward a theme deeply resonant with the Course. Grace is not earned. Grace is not achieved. Grace is received. The ego believes salvation must be earned through effort. The Holy Spirit teaches that God's love is already given. Grace represents the recognition that awakening is ultimately received rather than manufactured. The mind becomes willing. The gift is already there. The community of awakening. Throughout the film, the disciples struggle to move from fear toward shared purpose. At first, they are uncertain, divided, confused, yet gradually they begin functioning together. ACIM teaches that awakening is a movement from separation toward joining. The healed mind naturally extends. The recognition of shared purpose becomes an important part of the healing process. The community symbolizes aspects of the sleeping mind learning to remember its unity. The resurrection revisited. The resurrection remains an underlying theme throughout the film. The resurrection is not primarily about conquering physical death. It symbolizes awakening from the belief in limitation. The resurrection demonstrates that reality is not determined by appearances. The body appears, the body disappears, the Christ remains. The film repeatedly points toward this shift from attachment to form toward trust in what is eternal. The central reflection. The ego watches Full of Grace and asks, how do I cope when the teacher is gone? The Holy Spirit watches Full of Grace and asks, what if the teacher was never confined to the form? Viewed through ACIM, the movie becomes a meditation on trust, remembrance, and the discovery of guidance within. Mary symbolizes the quiet certainty that emerges when faith matures beyond dependence upon external appearances. The deepest message may be, grace is the recognition that God's presence has never left. Forms may come and go, teachers may appear and disappear, but the love they point toward remains forever available within the mind that is willing to remember. Go to mwge.org to find full movie and commentary by David Hoffmeister.